So sometimes in life, professionally or personally, you just kind of got to go for it. And sometimes it fails miserably, but then sometimes you think, gosh, that risk was totally worth the reward. So we're going to play a little game today to do that. So we like to call it risk or reward. Can I get some sound? Wait, let me do that again. Wait a minute. Let's welcome Molly and Sarah Gale to the stage. There we go. We're going to try it again. Hey, you stay up here. There we go. All right, we're going to play Risk or Reward, everybody. So if you wrote your name on the popsicle sticks outside, you are entering to compete in madness, pure madness. So Molly is going to choose 3 out, and you have to come up on stage. But it'll totally be worth it. Someone is going to win an Apple TV. Thanks to our friends at Ripple IT, who make IT for humans. So go check them out. Anybody want to win an Apple TV? A couple people? Okay.
Okay. Blank? All right. Okay, Carmen Rodriguez.
Come on up, Carmen. Yes.
Scott Kibler.
Scott, lucky winner number 2. Everyone from that section.
And Ben Norton.
Ben. Come on, Ben. All right. All right, here's how it's going to work. Carmen, you can go first. All right, so this wheel may fall apart. It actually broke on the way here. So Molly, 3 minutes ago, taped this thing on here. So if you could give it a gentle little spin, you will either get a risk or a reward. Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, how nervous are you?
Just a little bit.
That on a scale of 1 to 10, with a number, how would you classify your nervousness?
Just a 2.
Just a 2. So 10 is I'm really nervous. So, all right, Carmen, everybody. Okay, give it a little spin. I'm just gonna hold it. Oh, that looks like a risk to me. Okay, you get to choose one. Would you read that?
Lead the crowd in the Macarena with enthusiasm, please.
Are you ready, Carmen?
Sure.
Can you ask everyone to stand up?
Everybody stand up. I haven't done this in forever.
I am not trying to do this.
When I dance, they call me Macarena. And the boys, they say que soy buena. They all want me, they can't have me. So they all come and dance beside me.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, you went for it, Carmen. That was amazing. All right, stay up here. Okay, Ben, why don't you go next? Whoa. We only have 5 minutes slated for this, Ben. Hey. I liked that move, though. That was good. You never know where it's going to land. Oh, wow. All right. This could be your big day, Ben. How many do I take? Just one. Don't get greedy.
The board game?
You've won Risk the Board Game. Yeah. All right, Scott, you're up. Apple TV is still up for grabs. Whoa. Does that count? Ah!
That's reward.
That's a reward. Should that count, crowd? Raise your hand if it should count. Raise your hand if it should not count. It should count. It should count. Reward.
Apple TV.
What? All right, so Carmen, you're going to win a Risky Business DVD and a bag of Octane coffee. Let's give him a round of applause.
All right, everybody. This is a big screen and a big stage, and I've got a clicker, so it should go well. First, I wanted to thank everyone for coming out. In particular, the people that I love and that love me. A lot of people came down from our worldwide headquarters, which is in Inman Park. And it means a lot because they normally get in at about 9:15, 9:30, so 8:30 is really good for us, and I'm sure each of you have a headquarters of your own, whether it's regional or personal, that you made a effort to leave a little bit early to come. So thanks for that. A moment for myself to personally check in with you all. I'm equally parts anxious, really humbled, grateful to be up here talking to people, and then also, I guess I'll reuse the word humbled just because of the crowd, and I know the quality of everything that you guys are working on, and I'm really proud to be able to talk to you guys. So my hope for this talk is that a few of you guys who may not be doing exactly what you want in the exact way you want, walk out of here and think like, yeah, maybe I can do it, because the story that I'm going to tell you is basically how King of Pop started, which I have a background in journalism, and then my brother somehow got me a job as a product analyst at AIG, and then I started a popsicle business. So it doesn't really make any sense, and the point that I'm going to try to make is that none of us really know exactly what we're doing, and oftentimes we forget that when we're kind of going through the day-to-day. We think that the person next to us, they've got some stuff figured out, but like whatever you're thinking on is like, you don't know. But I think the reality is that nobody really knows what they're doing, and if you can kind of believe that a little bit, I think the more that you can believe that, the more you're kind of going to achieve. So this is a picture of me in 2009. It's February. That's my good friend Chris Vegas, who really painted the mural. I just kind of filled in the yellow spaces. And I want to talk about how we got to this spot first. My oldest brother is an anthropologist, so he was doing his field work in Latin America, and we would take summer trips in college or whenever, once Nick and I got jobs, to visit him. And the Latin, in Mexico, the popsicle is far superior, or all of Latin America, really. I mean, they probably have bad ones too, but the ones that we sought out were really interesting flavors. They were made with fresh ingredients. And it just seemed like, man, would make a lot of sense to do in the United States, where like farmers markets are a big thing and everything like that. So one trip in particular, we met my brother in Panama City and we kind of backpacked. That's what they call it, to Acapulco, Panama City, Panama. Both trips would be epic, but this one was in Central America. And we saw a lot of popsicle carts, and we met a lot of people, and just like three dudes in their 20s are usually doing, we were just like really amped about these popsicles. And we were sitting on the beach, various beaches, various buses, various rooftops, and we just dreamed about this idea. Nick was just finishing up law school, I think on this trip, or had a job already, but was pretty committed to being a lawyer at that point. And Nick and my other brother had put in like 20 years of school or something, so he was going to be an anthropologist. And I don't know, maybe I don't remember if I had a job or what. I think I had a job at AIG. And so we got really excited about this idea, and we talked about it, and it just wasn't really a reality because of everything that we had going on. And then something happened. I was working at AIG. It was a great job, really. I mean, I got paid pretty well. It had some parts that were challenging, and I was meeting a lot of people, learning like business world stuff. But kind of the layoffs started to happen, and when that happened, I started dreaming about, hey, maybe this popsicle thing could really happen. And what you do when you have an idea oftentimes is you're like kind of trying it on. I think my friend Grant is here, who opened church, and we sit around talking about like all of the ideas. I think he's the master of this. You kind of like will just say you're going to do something, and you'll just keep talking about doing it until you get to like that last point, and then either you do it or you don't do it. And so I said that. And one thing I did though was that I kind of, when people say like, what's your one piece of advice to an entrepreneur? I say, set a deadline, young guys and girls. So I set a deadline. I got laid off in the winter, and I did something. I really wasn't that brave. I had saved up some money. I had about $7,000 in savings. I had bought a condo, which is kind of what you do when you're working in corporate America and kind of doing pretty well. But that wasn't really going to fly with my new deadline, so I moved on to my brother's couch. So there it is. This was my big risk. But if you think about it, this couch is nice. You can't really just sleep in a couch every night, but sometimes you would want to. I would guess that this is more comfortable than my bed, and so it wasn't really that big of a risk. But I started going onto the couch, kind of waiting for one of his roommates to move out, and in the meantime, I started messing with popsicles. Like I said, my background was in insurance and journalism, so you can tell I really had a great idea of what I was doing here. That's my friend asleep on the couch. I think there's some Oreos. I don't know. And this was the result of that. So that's a canvas. I'm also a terrible painter. But it was useful for holding all these little medicine cups of different flavors. And I've got some of the great flavors, man. I've got mango habanero. I see banana pudding up there. So I had some ideas. But then this deadline was quickly approaching, right? So my plan was Nick lives in Little Five, and I live like kind of Ponce Highlands, and the midpoint between those two houses was the Buddy's gas station. And so we drove by it just the stupidest amount of times, and we would always look at it, and there's like this little out shop that's now an emissions thing, and before it was a flower shop, supposedly. I don't remember that, but so we thought, man, that'd be great right there. And we're in the process of signing a lease, didn't know what we were doing, but like I saw a lease, and I was like, yeah, let's do this lease. And then we found out about February, when I was painting the mural that we already looked at with Chris, that you needed a grease trap to do this. And the grease trap was going to come in around $30,000. So didn't have $30,000, had spent $5,000, it's a longer story, on getting a popsicle machine it's just complicated to get popsicle machines. But we got it, but we didn't have a place to start. Really was like stressed out. What are we going to do? So we decided let's just do what we kind of saw throughout Latin America, where the carts were all over the place. Deadline quickly approaching of April 1st, and we didn't really work out all the kinks, but this is I don't know, maybe the first or second day. This is a picture from Yelp. So this is how we started out. Didn't quite have our cart wrapped. The umbrella wasn't necessarily working. The chalkboard, somebody might have been able to read it. I'm not sure who. And since we hadn't figured out the umbrella, I was kind of sitting over here. You might think I was waiting for a phone call, but I was actually in the shade of that pole, and I kind of like did a little sundial motion in order to stay cool. So didn't know what we were doing, but believe it or not, like people came and purchased things from me. And it just kind of started to go really well. We had these flavors that we had worked on, and then also, everyone kind of has a dad like this, but my dad had a truck that he kind of was like, I don't know if I want you to use my truck. So we would walk up to the corner, which is not like that big of a deal, but it was like half a mile or something from where our shared kitchen was. And I would always pass this construction site, and I was like, man, I'm a little bit nervous on my first day, but one day I'm going to ask these guys, like, do you guys want a popsicle? And I just kind of would walk by them, like, do you guys want to say anything to me? But they never did. And one day I asked them, do you guys want one? I think maybe third day or something. And they were like, well, what flavors do you have? And I'm like, well, I got tangerine basil and pineapple habanero and grapefruit mint. And they're like, oh, do you have strawberry? And I was like, oh, strawberry. That's a good idea. I was like, I'll make that for you. So that night, everyone that I love basically would come after work. Nick had a full-time job, and he was coming after work and helping in the mornings. And we would make the pops, and I was like, I know, guys, this isn't really like our idea of like blowing up the food scene with different flavors, but what do you think about making strawberry tonight? We did it. And those guys bought them, and that was an important lesson because we didn't really have to be doing like the craziest thing ever. People just wanted a good product, and sometimes they were just hot and had been working really hard all day. So that year, it's going really well. Let me check my time. Okay, it's not working. So we're doing really well. I remember the first day when we kind of had realized that I was like, this is actually working. We were, it was May Day, so the event must have been in May. And I had gone to Serenbe to work that event, and my older brother and Nick were in town, and they were going to work the Buddies location. And they were doing great. I was doing great, selling pops. This is so weird that people are paying money for stuff. And I sold out like at 3. And I remember I went down to the street to have a beer and a sandwich and kind of be like, this is great. Like, I've got $400 and I did a really good job. Way to go. I'm just going to take this moment for myself. And then Nick calls. He's like, yeah, we're out of pops here. And it's not like in a fun, cute way. Like, people are kind of angry, and it's like 3 o'clock. So from that moment on, we kind of just were literally working around the clock. Nick took a big risk. I got laid off. He had a job as a lawyer. He took a risk to quit that profession to do the popsicles. Shout out to Brothers. They're the best. And things just kind of went crazy. We had 2 terms that I always remember that I think kind of put into perspective how hard we were working, which is one of the main things when you're trying to do something probably. But we had drive time and summer wait, and these were things that were very real to us. Drive time was if you were driving to an event or the farmer's market, that's all you could do is drive, and you could like enjoy the air conditioning, and that was like your one time to relax. Summer wait was like, you usually don't really get meals when you're working on the cart. Like, there's not a good bathroom area on this. So you kind of sit there, you don't really eat or drink anything, and you lose a lot of weight. So I weigh like 200 pounds or a little bit more now, and I would be at like 170 during this, and I had like I have a reaction to dry ice, so my hands would have like these rashes on them, and I'd be like kind of hiding them and handing them popsicles. But yeah, we figured some stuff out. So this is a picture of us. Like, this might just look like not much to you, but to us, like, whoa, man, this is like a legitimate business. It's also, I think this is the biggest our carts have ever been on a screen, so that's pretty cool. Things are going really well. Nick and I are there. We're really committed. We have some amazing people that are helping us. They're working really just as hard, and the community, everyone's just, it's great. It's the weirdest thing ever. Everything is going good. The first winter we end, and we're like, man, if that's all this was, then that's great. Like, I'm so happy to have been a part of this. And then the next year came. Whoa, we hired some people. It went really well. We're selling a lot of popsicles. We're working as hard as we can, and the winter comes, and we're like, this is kind of scarier now. It's not just me and Nick. We have to pay some people. This is a sneak peek into what it looked like. We always just had someone hanging out with the popsicle suit on. And we had a clipboard that we used for business things. And that was, we packed a cart, and you can see camouflage is a good thing to wear. But then the winter came again after we had been super busy, and this is an example, an embarrassing internet meme of why we had too much time on our hands. And anyone that doesn't know what this video is, I would be really impressed if you can guess. Just think big internet meme circa 2013. I don't know. I hope this plays, Blake.
Con los terroristas.
Yeah, so we had way too much time on our hands in the winter. We're just hanging out. So at that point, it was pretty clear we needed to figure out some new things to do in the winter. We had seen this business in California that sold live Christmas trees. We're like, man, we can't just sell regular Christmas trees. Let's sell live Christmas trees. And let's dress up as elves to do it. And there's no way anything can go wrong, right? The King of Pops thing worked out well. And I think I'm running kind of short on time, so I'm just going to do some highlights here of this. In the elf outfits, everyone loves you, right? And we had built so much brand equity that it was really humbling to think about. People were just buying things from us because they trusted us and they liked us. And we got into this business without really knowing anything at all. The trees were like these 300-pound pots. They were very heavy, 300 pounds. And they were Leland cypress trees. This guy named Andy Cheeks, who we had met, a friendly farmer in North Carolina, sold us the trees. And we were like, we'll just do this. What could really go wrong? So we sold a bunch of trees. The selling part was super easy. We didn't have any pictures yet because we hadn't sold the trees, so they were just illustrations of what a Christmas tree might look like if they got it. And people didn't really get it, I think. So what happened was we put these large trees in, and I don't have the time to really get into all the details, but they were really heavy. We were delivering to expensive houses, and people just have their way with Christmas where they think everything's going to be perfect and happy. And sometimes Christmas can't be that way. So what we learned was that the branches didn't necessarily support ornaments. That's just a small detail. And that's really just the beginning. They didn't smell right. They didn't look right. The needles were falling off, and we would say, well, if the needles are falling off, it's a live tree. Maybe it had a little bit of shock, but you're either watering it too much, or you might be watering it too little, or it might be a heater. We're not really experts. I don't know what we're doing. So those were like the not normal problems that raised my blood pressure and made me feel terrible. And we had a team of people that were literally like working so hard. And when you're working really hard and you're having success like we have had with King of Pops, it's so fun. And when you're working so hard and you're providing a negative experience and people aren't happy, it's so not fun. And I don't really have like the feel-good moment here other than we now cut Christmas trees and we sell them like in a way that is nice and is what people expect, and people do really well. Here's a picture of the cut tree. I just like to show these elf outfits because they're kind of fun. These are two happy elves. I don't remember their names exactly. But yeah, we didn't really know what we're doing. Hey, I've completely lost track of time. Okay. Yeah, so we don't know what we're doing in tree elves either. We figured it out though. So first year disaster, praying mantises. What were my other notes? One person got a rash, and they called me about the rash that they were going to have to go to the doctor. I don't know if they were calling everybody, and I don't know what to do. There was one tree in particular that I remember picking up, which is I've been scarred, and Nick and Matt and Mac and the other lovely people at King of Pops kind of operate this business now because it stresses me out too much. But there was one that we pulled up to, and they're like, this thing's losing too many leaves. And I was like, stop being a baby. I didn't really think that, but I pulled up, and the tree wasn't just like kind of dead. It was like there were zero leaves, needles left on it. Like zero, none at all. And we picked it up, and we went in with our brooms and like pretended like we were cleaning up and apologized profusely. So yeah, that's tree elves. Onto a happy thing. So we do a lot of things that we kind of don't know what we're doing. Clickers. One of them we did was a yoga event. We started a yoga event for our employees, and it kind of went okay for a little bit. We did it 2 years ago, and we had like 15 people coming out, and then some people started like riding by, and the Beltline was starting to be a thing, and they're like, hey, do you mind if we join you? And we're like, yeah, join us. That'd be fun. And then we did it for a year, and Manu started to like really promote it, and things got really big. And this is a picture of this thing, which is like, it's the craziest thing, and it has nothing to do with popsicles, but it's one of the things we're like really proud of. I like to say we're proud of things even if they're not big, but they make less impressive slides. So that's a shot from above of a yoga event that we did this year. Another thing we did that we had no idea about, Nick and I and had always kind of dreamed of having a farm. Like, wouldn't it be great if we could grow the produce that went in the popsicles and then take our compost to the farm, and that could go back into the popsicles? So beautiful. And so we were looking for like a 2 to 3 acre farm. We landed on a 68 acre farm. And we spent a year last year really failing hard at it. And then this year it's been pretty good. And I feel really happy about it. We have strawberries coming out of the ground. We've got all these beautiful vegetables and fruits. And as I try to wrap this up, I'm going to show you the next slide, which you're just going to think, kind of like in the beginning, is just a normal looking cart or whatever, but to me is kind of the most beautiful thing in the world, and I'll try to explain why. But this is us at a farmer's market this year, and the Decatur Farmer's Market. And if you look at it, there's no way that you would look at this and think that we had any idea what we're doing at any point of this. There's kind of some crops, and there's a popsicle stand, and maybe some people understand why they're going together. But I think more than anything, what we've figured out is that by trying things and experimenting with new things that we don't know what we're doing, we run into like some cool, magic, fun places. And the people that do get it and the people that do follow us and are a part of it, to them, I think this is beautiful too. So I'm really just grateful for this opportunity to talk about this, but more importantly, I hope you guys get something from this and go out and do something. That's the most important thing. Thanks. Do I do no time? We'll do a Q&A now. Do we have time? Yeah. It's 9:30.
That was awesome. Thanks, Steven. So we're going to do a Q&A real quick. So he can call on you. So just raise your hands. You have a question. And then if you're close to me on this aisle, I'll run you the mic. If you're over there, Molly will run you the mic. And can I ask a question first? Am I allowed to do that?
That guy had his hand up.
I saw he did go up first.
You can go
I
ahead.
have the microphone though.
Yeah.
I love the name. Can you just tell us like how that came about?
Man, I had printed an email to read, and I'm glad I didn't read it because I would have taken more time. But we came up with like 7 names. I think that's kind of what you do, and then you email it out, and you're like, hey guys, what do you think of these names? And I think the other names were El Pobre Diablo, Tres Hermanos, Frozen Man, Freya, and Pops, and then King of Pops. And there's a few people, the GM of Atlanta was like, I like all these names except King of Pops. And he really liked Freya, so we like to give him a little razz for that. But we kind of just picked it out of a list of names, and who knows where the inspiration came from, right? That'll be a mystery forever. Oh yeah, Colin. Yeah.
So my twins have been able to spot your umbrella from about a mile off since they were 3 years old,
Yeah.
which I'm kind of grateful for and kind of pissed about. But where that's obviously pretty iconic to your brand. Where did that come from? Was that a fluke or intentional? Or
Yeah, definitely another fluke and a good example of not knowing what you're doing. You saw our first umbrella was the green one on the cart. We literally bought this umbrella because it was larger and it was available. Any other questions? In the back.
I'm just curious if you saw Dad's Garage King of Pop's musical and what you thought of it.
Oh man. Yes, saw it. We love Dad's Garage. What I thought, is I think the musical was great. I don't know how to really explain what it's like to see a musical about yourself and what you're doing. So that was really surreal. One of my favorite times really ever was they did like a pre-screening, and we went there with a lot of King of Pops people, and watching it with those people was more fun than really anything. So I don't know. The thing about it is just like all of this is so crazy. Like talking to people about it and getting a musical made all seem kind of crazy. Let's go over there, Blake. Or is there a walkthrough? Not really.
So clearly you've got some stuff still working out in the King of Pop's realm.
Yeah.
And you took some risks in what you shared today. But go back to 2009, 2010. Would you have talked about it the same way as you did today? You've got some wind at your back now, so.
Yeah. I forgot because I kind of blacked up once I got here. I had written like I had a blog that about 8 to 12 unique hits per month that I kept during my AIG days. And I'd actually read this. When I was trying to get ready for this, I read a bunch of the old things that I had written. And yeah, I think I'll just read one paragraph that I think kind of sums it up. Yeah, so this is after I got laid off. The upset emotion wasn't evoked. Instead, I dreaded walking back into the office and saying goodbye to everyone. I didn't want to deal with the overly firm handshakes or the unlikely keep-in-touches. I didn't want to fill a cardboard box with items that I will never go through, and I certainly didn't want to face the prospect that I might not be able to figure something else out, and I could end up in an eerily similar cubicle a month later. The rest won't make sense because I'm talking about the red light district, and then I say, c'est la vie to my 12 square feet of Bramley carpeted space, the 52-mile round-trip commute, and the Excel spreadsheets that need to go beyond the 70,000 row limit, and hello to who knows what. I think I was terrified of ending up in another insurance job, and I thought that was probably the likely solution, or not solution, but next step. And I tried to think really hard about why I didn't do that. I think part of it was just a lot of loving support and knowing that I could fail and people would be there for me. And I kind of like, I've got a little bit of like storyteller blood in me from my family, and I think the idea of wanting to like just have something weird to tell people when I was old was kind of part of it. But it worked out well. Right front.
What was the most unappealing flavor you ever created?
This is a common question. There's been a ton, really, because we literally make anything. We didn't have any culinary experience, so our main thing has just been, if you put something that tastes good, is of high quality, and you mix it together, it's generally going to taste pretty good. Sometimes that goes wrong. Fig goat cheese is one. Didn't work out that well. I don't know. If anyone over there can yell one out, Nick, maybe what do you think? Yeah, we made a papaya coconut one that lemon balm. You know, can't win them all. I think right there for. Yeah, sometimes you make a lot of these and then you're like, rats.
How hard was?
I can repeat it if it doesn't work.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
How hard was it to register your company after you started? How long did it take for you to get things registered, trademarked? And another question is, how long before you started advertising?
Advertising, so how long did it take? I had basically the winter to do it, and I didn't have a lot to do. So it took me about 4 or 5 months, and you kind of operate in some gray areas, so we'll just say that. And then the other question was, shoot, it was a great question. Oh, advertising. Yeah, so we don't advertise, and I think a lot of people might say this, but we just want to be in places. So like sometimes we'll go to an event that we think is going to be great, and put ourselves there instead of putting up. Well, we did put up a mural, but I guess that's kind of advertisement. We called it a mural. Come on, city of Atlanta. It's a mural. It's art. But yeah, and then social media when we were starting was also like huge. I think we came out at a good time for that, where people were really like kind of into it, and now people are kind of over it, and that's a struggle. But yeah, right there in the front.
At any time, did you think seriously about giving up? And if so, what was that time? And obviously you kept going, but what was that situation or that challenge?
Yeah, I'd like to. I didn't really ever think of it. I thought maybe people would stop purchasing pops from us, but other than that, I was going to just keep doing it as long as we could. I never thought about it.
That's a great attitude.
Let's do one more question.
Okay. I don't know who's best question person.
Obviously, your I guess, flagship flavor is the chocolate sea salt one.
Sure.
Is that because that was the one that was most popular, or your favorite, or why?
Yeah, no, it's not my favorite. It's the flavor, I think, kind of going back to that construction worker thing that was like just something silly enough about, or different enough, people like thought they were kind of doing something special, and then it also is really, really good, and a lot of people like chocolate, and then you kind of can't take it off the cart. Once people like it, it's the one that like a lot of people will come to the cart now and they're not going to try anything else other than that. And this is actually a perfect segue to the pops that we have set up outside, because we've got 3 very safe flavors in the realm of chocolate sea salt. I don't know what they are, but one of them is chocolate sea salt, one's something like raspberry limey, and then one's something else kind of basic. And then there's the mystery pops on the other side. So if I inspired you and you don't have any food allergies, go with the mystery pops. Thanks, guys.